Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Collective Gamer 77 here, and today we'll be doing a quick review of the Arcade 1-Up Mortal Kombat cabinet. Arcade 1-Up released this cabinet in 2018. The original first game, Mortal Kombat, was released way back in '92, and as I'm sure most everybody is aware, it brought on one of the best rivalries between Midway and Capcom for two different types of fighting styles, and this was definitely a game that took over quite a bit of my youth. The digitized graphics absolutely amazed me, along with the bombastic sound. Starting off with the first game in the series, Mortal Kombat, again released back in '92. The graphics were amazing at that time. First time we ever saw some really decent digitized sprites. Of course, Pit Fighter was first, but Mortal Kombat, of course, did it much better. I will admit, compared to Street Fighter, I am a bit more of a scrub when it comes to the Mortal Kombat games, especially to the originals. But having all three games at home is absolutely amazing. This first game is still the same. The graphics very well done. It's amazing how much they were able to do with so little, especially when this game first came out. It's an arcade ROM, so it's basically arcade perfect. Sound effects are great. My only gripe is that it is only coming out of one speaker. It would have been nice if this maybe had come out along with their second wave, or even the third wave, once I believe it was the third wave, when they actually started releasing the dual speakers. That would have been amazing. There are rumors that Arcade 1-Up may be releasing a Wi-Fi enabled version of both Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Well, that would be great for new collectors. Unfortunately, I don't think I could justify purchasing it again as much as I'd like to, even with that stereo sound. That said, this is a great game to have in your collection and a great way to get introduced to the series, especially if you're curious about gaming in the 90s. Of course, now most arcades are dead, and again, these Arcade 1-Ups are a wonderful way for one to just capture and step back in your childhood, or two, just get introduced to what fighting games were like back in the 90s. Now, I will admit I did not play these games in the arcades as often, just because with the digitized graphics came a higher point of entry. These games, at least for the arcades that I went to, or even the pizza places I went to, they were costing easily $1 each play, whereas Street Fighter was still only 25 to 50 cents. And with Mortal Kombat 2 coming out to the arcades, I will admit I did not play MK2 or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 in the arcades. Mainly played them once they came home. My console of choice at the time for MK2 was the Genesis. So being able to have an arcade perfect version of MK2 at home is amazing. Of course, I am horrible at this game when it comes to the joystick. I basically weaned myself on the Sega Genesis 6-button controller, so having to play back on a joystick, I really went back and did cheap tactics, as you saw with my Raiden, which only works for the first two encounters. After that, I basically got trounced by the computer. Again, with Mortal Kombat 1, Midway did an amazing job with enhancing their digitized capture of the actors, of course with a bigger budget. They had more moves, there was crisper response. The gameplay was, definitely one of the best. I would say, myself included in MK2 is actually one of my favorite Mortal Kombat games for the 90s, besides of course the new Mortal Kombat 10 and 11, 9, 10, 11, which I do love as well for today's home console. But back then, seeing all the fatalities, the babalities, the friendships, the pit stage fatalities was amazing. This sound-wise, again, graphics, arcade perfect. The only thing missing, again, sound-wise, is the fact that it's not in stereo. Other than that, again, arcade perfect in regards to actual translation and port/emulation. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Now this also brings back some memories. When this came out, again, didn't play in the arcades, played it at home on the Sony PlayStation. And while it was serviceable, and also of course costing $59.99 for the disc case version, the only horrible part was the supremely bad load times, and of course the smaller character sprites. Having this again at home, awesome. Even better with the joystick and buttons. I'm definitely having to learn all the new characters again, especially Shang Tsung. In the PlayStation Mortal Kombat, I didn't really play him much just because every time you would transform, the game would pause for at least 3 to 5 seconds. So having this at home with no load time or pausing when you are playing Shang Tsung and transmogrifying or transforming into another character, morphing into another character, is amazing. Gameplay speed, character sprites, all arcade perfect. Again, the only knack that I can give for this collection is the sound, and that's only because it's coming out of one speaker hole versus actually having 2 stereo speakers. I actually didn't get into the gameplay as much when it came to the run button. What I did like is the fact that they chose Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 versus just vanilla Mortal Kombat 3. They did add, of course, a few more moves, some gameplay tweaks, some characters, so I'm glad this was the version that they chose. Ironically, since this game does play the best as far as accessibility for newcomers, I got fairly far in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. The AI is a little bit more forgiving than Mortal Kombat 2 or 1. So this is a pretty good entry point as far as new characters. Again, the graphics, again, is probably the best. The only other game I wish I would have loved to see is Mortal Kombat Trilogy, just because of having maybe everyone that's ever been in a Mortal Kombat game in an arcade 1-up cab would have been amazing. Now the big question is this arcade cab worth it? Especially now. It is one of the first, almost second generation of arcade 1-up cabs, and while the screen is great, my only knock really with it is the sound. Just I would have loved having dual speakers. The joysticks themselves, I'm glad they're already bat top, so I didn't have to spend an extra $10 just to replace the joysticks. Other than that, having these arcade perfect at home, again minus the sound, is amazing. If you can find it for a good deal, which could be anywhere from $200 to say $350. I know Costco had a bundle, and maybe some of your local Costco's may still have it, where there's actually even a lit marquee and a stool with a riser. I definitely recommend it. This is the first version which does not have the riser, but I'm fine with it for my collection, and I love having it at home. That said, if you can wait, there are wishful rumors that Arcade 1-Up may re-release both Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter with hopefully the new technology as far as Wi-Fi, better screen, and also dual speakers. Thanks again for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll definitely have quite a few new vids coming up.